So remember how I told you guys that as I'm going on this journey, I'm realizing that yes, my journey, at least here on YouTube, is all about hair, but actually in my life, the way that it's affecting me, it's actually so much bigger than hair. If you're new here, very quick rundown. So I realized at some point that my body was allergic or is allergic to braiding hair, the synthetic ones. And then of course I started nerding out a little bit about just what exactly in the synthetic hair it's allergic to, because I've always had those very weird reactions, but I never really thought, for some reason, I never put one and two together to say, well, maybe your hair or your body or your scalp actually hates this stuff. You know, maybe it doesn't mesh well with your body chemistry. Maybe you are allergic. It just never really clicked. And so when it finally clicked, I started going in. What are the ingredients in this thing that's making my hair itch, that's causing bumps on my scalp, where it's like you just continually, your scalp is just continually reacting. The whole apple cider vinegar thing, and that actually works for some people and it doesn't work for other people. And so I went deeper into it and I found out that synthetic braiding hair, of course, is actually a type of plastic fiber. So when we put it on our hair, we're basically putting plastic on our hair. Not only that, but there are certain additives that are put on the synthetic hair itself that allow it to look as silky, maybe to last as long, flame retardant. There's some coloring, some dyes that are added to it, you know, to give it the reds, the 1Bs, the ones, all of those are different types of dyes, and those dyes have chemicals in them, and those chemicals can be endocrine disruptors. It's a whole thing. If you have a moment, I have a couple of videos that are actually kind of long, so maybe you need more than a moment, or you can do some Googling. Don't look at the conclusions. Oh, it causes cancer. Oh, it causes this. Ignore all of that. Just really ask Google, what is synthetic hair made of? And sometimes asking these questions are not going to come very naturally to you unless you go through something that becomes that catalyst of maybe I should be asking the questions, right? But then there's some people that will naturally already be asking the questions whether or not they've been affected by something that then triggers them to ask the question. Does that make sense? Something that's also prompting me to ask these questions has been a couple of things that's been happening in my personal life. One example being just a lot of grieving, and some of them so unexpected, so young. And not only that too, but the rate at which people are dying of cancer. And so all of these things are brewing in my head. I'm in my late 20s. I'm like, what else am I missing? Should I be doing something? What else am I doing on a daily basis that I probably should think twice about, that I probably should start challenging? But what can we do to increase the quality of our lives while we are alive, so that even if you live a very short life, the people around you can say, while he or she were here, they lived. Another thing too I want to point out is that the irony is not lost on me that there are people who never smoke a day in their lives, but they still end up with lung cancer. And then there's people who eat extremely healthy and they end up maybe dying by something else in a plane crash unexpectedly. There are people who exercise every single day. There are people who are very spiritual. They pray. There are people who give. There are people who are kind, who are nice, where it's like, dang, even they are not exempt. And so that irony is not lost on me, because those are, again, things that we ultimately cannot control. But for the things that we can control, right, why is it so far-fetched and so crazy to then try to control them? And so the catalyst for all of this thinking was literally just listening to my hair just a little more, being conscious about what I put on my hair just a little bit more. There's no part of our body that is dead, from our hair to our skin, to our nails. Everything is alive and everything will respond. If we feed it synthetic things, if we feed it ultra processed things, anything that is a replacement of the natural thing, our body will absorb it and our body would give back exactly what we gave it. You know, if we're feeding it coloring as opposed to magnesium or iron or calcium, if we're opting in for the minerals, if we're opting in for the vitamins, if we're opting in for the fresh stuff, the fruits, the vegetables, if we are more mindful about not having the McDonald's or just not having the packaged stuff with the preservatives, and if we continue to give our body the energy suckers, then our body is not going to be alive enough. It's not going to be healthy enough to allow us to then live life and reach our fullest potential, because it just doesn't have what it needs. One other example for me is that I have been experiencing a lot of just like random muscle twitches, especially around the joints area, so around like my knees. So I go to the doctor, I tell her this. I actually even had taken a video at some point because it was continuously twitching, and I showed it to her. She's like, oh, we're gonna check your blood, and if there's anything that's abnormal, we're gonna come back and then we'll fix it. So I said, okay, no problem. And so we did the blood check, and it came back, and you know, the iron levels is usually something that we watch a lot for, because I've had it for a long time. It was stable, so I was good there. We looked at white blood cells. What I heard was that, oh, African American women tend to have lower counts of white blood cells, and I've consistently had it. So I guess when it deviates from your norm, that's when they should be worried. And so they ruled that out, and it's like, yeah, you're fine, just get more sleep, just get more sleep. And then only for me to figure out later, my mom and I were talking about just like natural stuff. So we started talking about sea salt for some completely different reason, not even related to my hair or health or anything. And so she was telling me what to do with the sea salt, and then I'd never experienced sea salt in my life. So I went to the store, I got it. This is after she'd like insisted like over months, and I was like, oh my god, mom, please. So I finally went to the store, I finally got the sea salt, and as I was like kind of rubbing the sea salt, I realized just how soft it left the palms of my fingertips, I would say. It left my fingertips feeling so soft, and I'm like, let me look more into the sea salt. I was looking at a lot of these websites that were saying it's actually a good replacement for table salt, but it doesn't only stop there. You can also use sea salt for your skin, your scalp, which is your skin. You can use it for any like inflammatory issues. If you feel like there's a cold coming up, you can gargle a little bit of sea salt, and you realize that not only does it prevent certain things, but it actually takes away all of those like respiratory related issues. And another thing to remember, I was talking about the twitching. Sea salt contains magnesium, and a lot of times twitching and all of those are signs and symptoms of a magnesium deficiency, either magnesium or potassium. In addition to the twitching, another sign and symptom of a deficiency in magnesium is lack of sleep. I'm an extremely light sleeper, and guess what I found was a sign and a symptom for magnesium deficiency? The exact sleep issues that I've had. Not only that, but the twitching. Another thing too that I've realized about myself is I'm a very ambitious person, but for a long time I haven't had, I don't know if zeal is the right word. I just haven't had the motivation. I've just felt very weak, very lackluster about actually getting up and doing the things that I feel like I should be doing. And you actually also realize that laziness, yes, it could be laziness, but it could also be a deficiency in some sort of vitamin, in some sort of mineral. You know, it could be that your body is just out of balance. Some sort of hormone in your body is out of balance, and that is something that is within your control. And so the point I'm trying to make is we have so many resources at the tip of our fingers. All we have to do is start challenging things. We have to start questioning things. We have to start going a little bit further and being advocates for our own bodies. And being kind to my body means giving it things that give it life, that allow it to then serve me, so that I can then serve my own self in reaching my potential, and then in turn serving the people around me. Because at the end of the day, that really is the essence of life, right? Doing enough to fill your own cup and having more to fill the cups of those around you. Because it's like, yes, life is about you, but because the way the ecosystem is so interconnected, where anything that you do will affect someone in some way, shape, or form, it's very imperative that you do stuff for yourself, but you also give back. Does that make sense? And so when we ask the right questions, we're going to realize that some things that we have trusted and some traditions that we have stuck to for decades and maybe generations actually are not working. They're actually killing us more than they are giving us life. And the irony is not lost on me that I might be doing this and maybe something else ends me. But at least while I'm alive, I want to feed my body enough that it allows me to live and to reach my fullest potential, to live a quality life and reach my fullest potential. And so thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.